Welcome to Keep What You Earn, your judgment and jargon-free zone for entrepreneurs of all levels. Get ready to learn how to scale your business, save money in taxes, and create a business that grows your wealth. If it feels like the financial side of business is like eating your vegetables, well, then think of this podcast as the ranch dressing to make the process a little more enjoyable. My name is Shannon Weinstein. I'm a CPA and business owner on a mission to simplify money and empower others through knowledge. I hope this episode inspires you to take action, but remember that the information we share is for educational purposes only and is not individual tax advice. Now that we got that out of the way, let's start the show. Hey, welcome back. So today I wanted to share a little bit of a question and answer I had with a client recently, a client who's coming on board at Keep What You Earn, and they have a C corporation. And they asked me this question like, hey, I'm seeing a lot of stuff out there that I should be an S corporation. And I just wanted to know, like, should I be cutting through that noise and going, no, that's not me? Or like, I'm listening to it and going, this sounds great. Shannon, what do we do? And I realize that there is a lot of marketing around the S corporation right now. Like there's a lot in social media. There's a lot that's kind of in your face if you're consuming this type of content and you're seeking out new knowledge. There's a lot going on where the S corporation's, getting great coverage, has great PR, but the C corporation doesn't get enough credit, in my opinion. So my answer to them was to stay a C corporation, but that's not my advice to everybody. So in their particular case, that's where we ended up. But I'm going to tell you because I think it benefits to basically understand the core differences between these two corporations so you can make a conscious decision on what makes most sense for you. So, first of all, the S corporation versus the C corporation, let's just go through a couple of the basics from a tax perspective. And I already disclaimed the show. You guys know this. I'm going to disclaim this one to say this includes content that is time sensitive to this point in time, which is the end of 2024, beginning of 2025. So, a lot can change. We have a presidential administration change coming up, and there's a lot that could change in terms of the numbers. So if you're listening to this into the future, then just take that with a grain of salt and understand that Google the rates, Google the percentages, Google the numbers that apply at the point in time you're listening to this. Okay. But I'm going to use the numbers so that you can actually feel this and do the math with me a little bit. So here's the situation. Let's just say you have a corporation and you make $1 million in profit. Okay. Now, under a C corporation, there's a couple things that happen. One is that you will pay a flat rate called the corporate tax. Now, little bit of a sidebar here. The corporate tax is 21%. And this is the rate that everybody talks about when they're running for president. Like, oh, I want to increase corporate taxes, blah, blah, blah. Like, this is the rate they're talking about. And by the way, C corporations, let me just dispel this myth. C corporations, a lot of large Fortune 500 are C corporations, but a lot of mom and pop businesses, cafes, Main Street businesses are also C corporations. So, if you're in support of one getting a higher tax rate, remember, like the whole tide goes up, So C corporations are incredibly common. I think they are the most common business formation type in the country. I'm going to verify that, but I think I've heard that at some point. So just remember that C corporations are more common, and don't think about just Fortune 500 companies. They are very much like in your day to day. So a lot of small businesses have the C corporation because you have a 21% flat tax rate. And I don't mean you personally, I mean the company does. So here's how it works. If the corporation makes $1 million in profit, okay, let's just ignore state taxes and complicated stuff. Let's just say federal taxes, 21%, $210,000, right? $210,000, the company pays that $210,000, not the investors. Ultimately, the investors own the company, but the company is responsible for paying those taxes. It does not pass through. So if you have experience as a business owner with an LLC or with an S corporation, you may know that those are called pass through, meaning that you, like me, Shannon, I pay taxes based on Keep What You Earn's income. Okay. So Shannon pays the taxes. Just like you, if you own an LLC or S corporation, even a partnership, you are responsible for paying, your share of the business's taxes or the taxes from the income generated from the business, right? C corporations is a little different. It's a flat 21%. And you're probably thinking, well, wait a minute. I'm paying like 24, 28, like 33. I see you Californians, 36. I'm paying a lot of money, more than 21%. So wait, is a C Corp a better option for me? Hold on. there's another little trick to this. So a C corporation pays that flat tax rate. However, now here's the limitation. If you want to take money out of your business, if you're an LLC or an S corporation, you're used to doing what's called owner's draws or distributions. If you want to pay yourself, forget the salary for a second or any W 2 stuff, but if you want to pay yourself and you just want to transfer money from your business account to your personal account, you do what's called a draw, and there's no real consequence tax wise for each one of those draws in a pass through entity. Because at the end of the day, me personally, Shannon, I'm taxed on what Keep What You Earn did in profit, whether that profit is in their business account or my business account. I'm still getting the tax bill. So I'm within my rights, in a sense, to take money out of the business so I can pay those bills. Now, here's the thing with the C corporation. The C corporation has to issue what's called a dividend. If an investor, including you, if you're the sole owner, if a shareholder wants to take money out of the C corporation and it's not through a channel like a salary, if they just want to move money from business account to individual account, here's what has to happen. They have to issue a dividend. That dividend is taxable to the owner, to the shareholder, to the investor. And it's not an expense to the business, which means that it's included in the business's profit still. So you're paying 21% on those dollars. And the owner, the investor shareholder, is going to get a 1099 DIV that shows that they made money in dividends. So wait a minute, Shannon. You're getting taxed on the same dollars twice. Yes, you are. So that is the downside of the C corporation. We call it double taxation because the same dollars that you were taxed on at the corporate level because you started pulling them out of the business to use for personal things, now that is considered a dividend or income. Now, that is where you have to be mindful of, okay, what type of business formation makes sense for me? Because I like to take a lot of money out of my business. Well, then maybe the C corporation is actually not an advantage because that money that you're pulling out in dividends is taxed at your marginal tax rate on top of the 21%. So if you do the little math on that, it's like, ooh, I don't like that at all. Yeah, I know. So you're compounding that tax rate, right? You're going to be getting that additional tax rate on your income, and your income's going to go up on top of it. Now, number one is I love C corporations. Let me be really clear. I love C corporations for that flat corporate tax. It's like chef's kiss. I love it. But you have to be mindful of this because if you just take draws out or you're issuing dividends, it's going to do some damage to your tax bill. So, what I recommend doing is you have a C corporation, right? But you have to have that as part of an ecosystem with other companies that you separately own. It might be a little more complicated. Or maybe you run all of your pay through salary for the C corporation, right? So it depends on what cash flow you need out of the business. It depends on how frequently you're going to be pulling money out. It also depends on what your marginal tax rate is. Because if you have a, say, 33% marginal tax rate or even effective tax rate, if you pay 33% in taxes, then a 21% sounds like a deal. That's the catch, though, is that you can't take money out without paying that 33% on it. So you have to think about, well, what is the need of me to pull cash out of my business? And also, what are the needs of me to take on investors? So, when it comes to a C corporation, another key thing here is that when it comes to tax time, your investors, if you have a C corporation, your investors won't get K1s, meaning they won't be responsible for paying taxes on their share of the profits of the business. The profits of the business are evaluated, and then the company pays those taxes before the investors even see anything, basically. So, the investors won't really have any tax burden of being investors. So if you're profitable, they won't get a tax bill. In an S corporation, they would. Also, an S corporation has certain limitations, like you can't have more than one share class. Now, this gets a little bit more advanced where if you're raising capital and you have investors, you probably want the flexibility of having some type of share class, meaning you want to be able to offer certain investors better benefits than others based on how much they invest, when they invested, right? How long they've been investors with you. And obviously, like the friends and family, the closest benefits should be higher. So you should be looking at all of those different elements when you're considering a type of formation because a C Corp and an S Corp are just different. One is not better than the other, but they're just different. And you have to make a very deliberate selection on what you want out of this business and what makes the most sense for you. Now, I do not expect that this episode alone will inform you enough to make that decision. Please do some additional research. Use this as inspiration to learn more about each for your business if you're considering starting a business or raising capital. Just keep this in mind as something you heard and go support that with evidence from what you've researched and talk to your personal accountant and advisor on what makes sense for you. Even feel free to share this with them if you'd like. Hopefully, everything was on point with regards to the current tax situation when you're listening to this. So just remember that it's really important to understand that there are nuances, there are differences. A one stop solution is not really reasonable for everybody. So take this as some inspiration to go learn a little bit more and make that informed decision for yourself. We realize that CFO services may not necessarily be accessible to everybody. And that's why we have packaged our CFO services into a power session for you. With this single purchase session, you'll be able to navigate the financial scorecard with me personally on your business and figure out what constraint you need to unlock next. We're going to give you direction, clarity, and we're going to find ways to increase your profitability, increase your cash flow, and make sure you never run out of money. Okay, if you're interested in booking a power session with me, I only do a couple per month, so make sure you jump on quickly and sign up. Check the link in the show notes for more information. I can't wait to see you in a power session.